Right. I call the Interlibrary Loan Technical Group meeting to order at 7:33 a.m. The minutes for the February meeting were distributed. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Can I get an approval of those minutes, please?
I move to approve.
Okay, Tony, can I
I'll
get a second,
second.
please?
I'll
Thank you,
second.
Anne. All right, so the minutes have been approved. I'm still waking up. Do we have any additions to today's agenda?
I think we should have one addition. Let me
Okay.
see if is Jackie here? No, okay, we'll hold. We may later. We'll see.
And I buried the lead. Courtney is obviously not present today. I'm standing in for her, doing my vice chair duty. She tricked me at the very end. We will put a pause on that addition to the agenda, see as the meeting goes on. For officer reports, I have nothing to report. Megan, do you have anything?
I have no reports to make at this time.
No reports. Awesome. Then we will move on to the CCS staff reports with Mieko.
I have just a few things to bring to the group. First is an update on the Vernon migration. So we are in the thick of it right now. Just a reminder for everyone, you will continue to use WorldShare to request Vernon materials until they're live in Polaris. At the August meeting, I anticipate reviewing handling duplicate ILL materials from the migration and data merge. So we will kind of just talk about some strategies and what to do post go live. Our offline period is scheduled over Labor Day weekend. CCS libraries will come back online on Tuesday, September 2nd. Vernon staff and patrons will plan to start using Polaris on September 3rd. The offline start date is currently TBD at this moment. So we are wrapping up the test data load into our training database. What happens here is they do the load, they do all the like deduplication and reindexing, and they use the timings from that load to plan out the offline process. So once that is finished, they will be able to take a look at everything and figure out what our start point for offline should be. So we anticipate finalizing the offline schedule around the end of May. So in early June, we'll start publicizing that to all libraries. So there's just a few things with Vernon. The only other update I have is just a reminder that next week is the quarterly Rails count week. So count those blue bin items going out. And I will pass it back to Carrie.
Thank you. And a reminder that we're not getting deliveries tomorrow, I believe. Most of us should not be because Rails is having their in-service today. And so just keep that in mind for tomorrow as well. All right, we'll move on to new business. Elections are first up. Mieko, do you want me to go or do you want to go ahead with that?
So I will just put a plug in. We wonderfully have a volunteer for vice chair, chair-elects. So before I turn it over to Carrie for like motions and approvals and everything, or nominations for secretary, I just want to run through what it takes to be the secretary because we still need a volunteer for that. So as secretary, your job is to take notes during the meeting. For virtual sessions, you have the recording that you can work off of. After the meetings, your responsibility is to draft up the minutes, share them with the officers and myself for review before sending it out to the group through the listserv. And I just want to emphasize with everyone, like any ahead of the like new officers taking over the responsibilities, we have an orientation where I meet with the new officer group ahead of our next meeting just to kind of review roles and like what happens before, during, and after a meeting. So I will turn it back over to Carrie now.
As Miyako said, we had a self-nomination from Amy Young at Wilmette for the position of vice chair and chair-elect. Would anybody else like to nominate themselves or someone else? If not, I'm gonna do all approve of Amy's nomination for vice chair slash chair-elect. We can do either a vocal one or in the chat for approval of this nomination. So all
Aye.
approved?
Aye.
We got a Tony?
I,
Anne is waving. All right. Any opposition? Better not be threat.
Amy, do you want to oppose or?
Yeah, I know, right? I retract my nomination.
Miyako convinced me that it was going to be just fine.
It truly is. ILL, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Miyako, it's only a 3 meetings a year at this moment. Yeah, and it's gonna be like, you get to go with me, Amy. It's like, that's not a pro or a con, but it's fine. It's good to be on the officer, especially like you mentioned prior to the meeting. Just if you haven't done it yet, getting to try it, see how you feel
Yes.
about it. So thank you, Amy. Claps, snaps, virtual chat ones. Thank you for doing that. We really appreciate it. Yes, I see the
Thank
claps
you
for
all.
sure. Thank you. So then at this time, we will now take nominations or self-nominations for secretary. Miyako gave the quick plug, but I will also do it prior to the meeting. Megan and I briefly just chatted. It's truly so easy to do it in 2025. You get the recording of the minute meetings. It's as detailed as you want to be. And it just helps keep everything flowing. So it's not too bad of a gig. Are there any nominations, self or otherwise? I don't thrive on awkward silences, but I can definitely like write it out right now. I think one of the previous moves was somebody got nominated when they actually weren't in attendance for the meeting, so someone else could do that too.
Yes, what happened there? I was trying to remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
I'd be happy to volunteer. This is Jenny from Mount Prospect.
Jenny, thank you. Awesome.
Thank
All
you,
right, Jenny from
Jenny.
Mount Prospect, we
No
got
one's
claps.
clapping? Oh,
I'm clapping. We are
Yes.
clapping. We need claps in the chat. All right, Jenny. I move to nominate Jenny from Mount Prospect as secretary for the upcoming ILL Tech Group. All approve?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
I,
Any opposition? All right, Jenny, thank you. We appreciate it. All right, and so elections have been done. Did I cut you off, Miyako?
No, that's okay. I was just gonna say that for the new officers, I will reach out in the next week or two. We'll set up some time in July just to kind of go over things. It'll be a very quick meeting.
Yes. Very cool. Thank you guys again for doing that. We will move on to ILL renewal workflows from Adrian at Palatine. How do you manage renewals on ILL requests and loans? Adrian, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I just want to say hello. My name is Adrienne Galindo. I'm the lead cataloger at Palatine, and I have recently taken on responsibility for ILL with the help of my department. So this is a brand new role to me, first meeting. And I am just curious how you guys manage renewals, both borrowing and lending. Just because I've noticed that we get a lot of requests for renewals when, renewals are automatic. How often do you communicate with those libraries? Do you communicate with those libraries? It just kind of, That's fine. And you guys can, kind of feel free to just say what has worked or what hasn't worked for you, but thank you.
So somebody could definitely correct me if I'm misremembering on this, but as long as the like ILL's email address is on their account that you check it out to specifically for like OCLC, they should be getting those notifications that it automatically renewed for them. I mean, depends on what their workflow looks like too. And they don't necessarily know every individual library's renewal policies on that, but we personally don't have like a system in place where it's like this renewed for you. It's just kind of as it comes up kind of thing, which is really unstructured, but happens so infrequently that it's manageable at the same time.
Got a couple comments come through. So Patty from Indian Trails addresses renewals on lens, so outgoing materials. They place holds on the item so their material does not auto renew. And then Ashley at Grays Lake gives their perspective for requests of things coming in. They're set up so ILL renewals are not automatic. So when it is requested in OCLC, I manually renew it and then accept the renewal in OCLC.
That's
Well-
what we will not do. We put holds on the items so they don't automatically renew, and then we manually renew them.
Yeah, we, Park Ridge, we don't have automatic renewals either, but, if they ask, we'll give them, manual and automatic 2-week renewal. And then if they need more time, you know, we'll contact the lending library and see if we could get them more time. And usually they're pretty generous about extending the time. You know, there's that handy feature on OCLC where you just, you know, request a renewal. And I think 9 times out of 10, the library says yes, so. And then sometimes a library, you know, some of the universities might lend something out for months. And so we're kind of able to check to see what the actual due date was and, you know, kind of work with that a little bit too, you know, so.
Yeah, I've noticed that we will get a request to have something renewed. But like I say, it's already like auto renewed in our system. So I don't, do you like follow up and like let the person know if it, I don't know. This is all brand new to me, so I think I'm just having a hard time wrapping my head around some of it.
If the material was renewed, we just answer and put in the date. If they're asking for the specific date, we are changing for the date that they ask, and we just put it in our CLC request, answering for their asking, if there is no long waiting list for our patrons for that material.
Adrian, are they requesting it, like, are they asking for renewal through email or through the renewal request, like in OCLC specifically? Because Patty mentions that in the chat as well.
Yeah, it's usually through OCLC. I think maybe I'm confusing it with borrowing. So we'll have a patron, let me see if I can get this right. We'll have a patron that will request a renewal and they already have that item. I think this is coming from our patron. So they already have that item for X amount of time. And sometimes it just seems like they're requesting and it's like overlapping and it just it gets a little wonky, I think, in our system. But like I say, this is brand new to me. So I think we're still kind of trying to figure out what the flow is here.
There were a couple more messages in the chat. Folks echoing Prospect Heights and Grease Lake. Des Plaines doing the same. Jeannie said, have started extending and renewing IFM items when I see the item has been received by the borrowing library. Patty mentioned you can go to renewal in OCLC. Like Forest also updates any OCLC items, renewals in Polaris. If it has been recalled, I put the renewal date in the OCLC notes. Yeah, so Adrian, you were saying it's one of your guys' patrons asking for a renewal on a borrowed item. I think we do most of it in the renewal requests, both lending and borrowing, and then just communicating that with our patron. And then if it's a lended item, that library can see that we approved it through OCLC's interface.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you, everyone.
What we do at Willette is let the patron know, please let us know about 3 days in advance of the renewal, of the due date, so that they're not bombarding us ahead of time too far.
Yeah, so if you get to a point where, and it sounds like a lot of you don't do auto renewals, but we do. So when you get to a point where it has auto renewed like 3 times, and you can't do it anymore, but you need to reset the due date, because it's still checked out, and and you want to make sure that it has time to ship back. Do you guys check it in and then check it back out to that library? Because I'm finding, and maybe it's just my permissions in Polaris, but I find that if they've, met their limit of renewals, I can't reset the due date. So I've just been like checking it in and checking it back out to them so I can give them an extension. Or do you just let it say overdue?
Well, in Glenview, we just override. I just override if they're especially asking for the particular date. I just override. I don't need to check in, check out. I can override. Maybe it's a permission in Polaris for you.
And one other thing too, with the reset due date, that function will not work if the item is already overdue. So that could be a consideration as well. So Karen asks, is there an ILL policy that sets the renewal limit? So for things that you are requesting, so things that are being sent to your library, there is basically an ILL template that is used when you receive the item. And that's where it inputs kind of all of those like item record details, like what's the material type, and including the renewal limit. So I think most libraries are set up where that template gives those items 0 renewals. If you want to like check on like, hey, what's my library's template say? Or like, I want to change, the template settings. Staff with cataloging 2 permissions are able to access those templates and modify, or email CCS, like open a help desk ticket. It's so easy for us to check on those. And one other thing, while I have the mic, when I saw Adrian's question, I started like playing around on the back end for items that are lent. So for items that are lent, I'm currently exploring a setting modification. I still have a lot more testing to do to see if it is viable, but if my theory is correct, and if it's successful, it would prevent outgoing interlibrary loans from auto renewing or being able to be renewed through the PAC. So, excuse me. I have some more testing that I wanted to do with that, just to make sure that it's not negatively going to impact any non-interlibrary loan workflows. And it may be dependent on like other specific workflows or like record setup. So we'll likely need to take this to the advisory group for additional review before like officially saying like, hey, we potentially have a solution here. So hopefully more to come at the August meeting.
Adrian, I have one last question. Do you guys do ILL holds out on the floor, open holds, or do patrons have to come to the desk to check those out?
Yeah, they have to come to the desk.
Okay, didn't know if you guys were setting those due dates to coincide with the OCLC ones, so. Okay. Then there was one more chat from Elliot. We have renewed beyond the renewal limit for materials we are lending. That is also something that can be overridden. Yeah, so just depending on how you want to treat ILL specific items, it does seem like it's kind of a mix, but more people limiting it to just the one checkout renewal period versus additional ones. Any other comments All good, Adrian?
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone.
Very cool. So next we will move on to Jeannie, data entry for preferred versus legal names, discussion and demo. I know I saw Jeannie chatting.
Jeannie, would you like me to pull up Leap? No, we cannot hear you. I'm gonna prep Leaps to show off the different name fields real quick.
A Jeannie typed, had a transgender patron who wanted their name their new name entered, but all identification showed other name. How do you handle it? Well, I think, let me pull it up from me as well. That's, for me, that's exactly what the name and identification is for. It's like, that's what you would put, because that's what's on their ID, but you could use, and Nico, correct me, you can use the first name for preferred name, nickname, like anything, like they could be L, just the letter, like if they wanted to, because that's what they want to be called. The name on identification was added for exactly those scenarios. So I treat the first name almost as like a nickname or preferred name versus ID name. And she writes, we have used it as a preferred name. Why did that change? The regular name field for the preferred name, because that should be the same thing, right? That should still be the same field. Because the name on identification is on the back end, and then there is that button that allows you to use that for notices if they wanted to do that. But yeah, preferred name is the regular name field in the patron registration. Yeah.
I'm going to share my screen so we can take a look at Leap here real quick. There we go. So in the patron record, there are two distinct name fields. You have the primary or the preferred name field, that's labeled last name, first name, middle name, and then you have the name on identification section. So how this is meant to be used is that if the patron has a different legal name and a versus preferred name, you can use the primary name areas to record their the preferred name, and that will display on like email notifications. And then you have the name on identification area where you can input their legal name or what's on their driver's license. And as Carrie mentioned, there is this little checkbox here where if active, that will use their legal name or the name on identification, on print notices and telephone notices. And I believe the purpose for that is that those would be the notices that are more likely to be intercepted by family members. I don't know if it ever said preferred, I will be honest. Previously, we just had the last name, first name, middle name, and then the name on identification was the added field.
So Jeannie, I think you were on the correct track of putting it in the former preferred name. That is that, the terminology being there or not, that is exactly where you should put it. Because then that'll show up like an online account if they wanted to check that. But like Mieko said, the more interceptable pieces of notification will still give their name and ID. All right, and we got a thank you. So all good on that. So Mieko, it's going to be you again. Find more analysis, feasibility of tracking time spent working on FMI.
Yes. It's a mouthful of a agenda topic. Well, the first thing, I forgot to add the link into the sign-up sheet for the meeting, popping it in the chat. If you have a chance this meeting, enter your name. I will email it out after the meeting, so no rush on it. Just to record meeting attendance. So Find More. So as you all know, our membership in Find More was for a 2-year trial period, essentially. We are already halfway through that period. So one thing we're going to be focusing on over the next year is kind of an evaluation of the service to see if it's something that we want to continue with. And one metric we want to consider is staff time. So the amount of staff time spent on Find More versus like an OCLC request. And this includes pulling and processing items for loan, processing incoming holds, managing requests in either Share It or WorldShare, any time spent troubleshooting issues. That's another important consideration. So we're interested in this data, but we don't know what the collection process would be like, what the most effective method would be, what would be the easiest for libraries. So at this time, we anticipate it would be on a volunteer basis. And I wanted to take a few minutes this meeting just to kind of pick your brains on what this could potentially look like. So how can we gather information on staff time per loan for Find More or OCLC? So I think one thing we're kind of thinking of here is like, how is workflow split up? Maybe for some libraries, it's all concentrated on like, one staff member does it all. Other libraries, it may be like several departments that have their hands on pulling requests and versus trapping holds. So the first thing I want to ask the group is, how is workflow split up for Find More, and how is workflow split up for OCLC requests?
Because Sophie does it all. We're echoing. Audrey does all of ours as well. It's a one person show on that.
Okay.
So that seems to be the consensus in chat as well.
Basically one person show. Okay, that will actually probably make it easier to track time and do a time analysis for the volunteers. My next question for those who do these requests, do you tend to have like have dedicated times for working on Find More requests versus OCLC requests? Or will you just kind of like, whatever comes up, I'll start working on a Find More, I'll jump to OCLC, I'll jump back to Find More?
That's how.
Yeah, it's back and forth all day
Forth.
at Park Ridge. Yeah. Mhm.
Same. Audrey gets off desk time, and then that's just ILL time, the big blanket.
Back and forth, handling them as they come in, back and forth all day. Okay.
Yeah, that's how Matt handles it too.
Okay, this is helpful. I love Megan. There is no rhyme or reason as to when they come up. Okay. Um, Another question then, considering like a time frame. I'm sure, services ebb and flow, maybe depending on the day of the week, maybe what time of month it is. So in terms of like, you know, thinking about our volunteers, what like length of time for data collection would be a good period to kind of capture all of those ebb and flows? 2 weeks more?
2 weeks is what first came to mind for me. I feel like that's, yeah.
Mhm.
2 weeks. And then has anyone here done a time study at your library before? I'm just curious if there's like, what would tracking look like? Are there any tools or apps that people have used before? Sorry. It doesn't sound like anyone's done a time study. So this will be new for everyone then. Okay. Link. Mondays are the busiest. This is really helpful, just to kind of get some context for what workflows are like and how we may need to focus things.
Can I
Okay.
like, oh, sorry, go ahead. You weren't done.
No, I was just gonna give a thank you. So I'll turn it over to you, Carrie. Yeah.
I was just curious of, anecdotally from folks here, since we are at kind of that halfway mark with Find More, have folks, I saw a few people in the chat saying you don't receive a lot of Find More, requests. Have folks been leaning one way or the other in terms of prioritizing holds, or especially when doing requests for your own patrons? Are you still trying to prioritize Find More because of the cost of it, or have you moved to OCLC because of some of the hiccups that Find More was running into early on? I'm just, like I said, I'm anecdotally, I'm curious if folks have seen themselves sharing the time evenly or what.
Yeah, we do definitely check Find More first. Obviously, I think the idea was to kind of maybe get a little pressure off OCLC. And so it is kind of fun to get occasionally items from much smaller libraries that would never have, since they're not an OCLC, have a chance to maybe share their stuff. So yeah, so try Find More first. I should put that on a bumper sticker somewhere, and then OCLC, of course. Yeah.
Thank you. We got a few folks in the chat. Ashley from Grays Lake, Find More has not added a lot of value for us. We continue to check Find More for materials that typically can't find a lot. So I moved to OCLC, Chris, CCS first, FMI second, OCLC third. We use OCLC more, Desktop are more used to it, and Find More materials takes longer to get, which is ironic. Like, we place almost all of the holds for our patrons through OCLC, our patron request items that are often only held by out-of-state libraries, plus there are more opportunities to obtain the items. We have found FMI frustrating to use and not much benefit to our patrons. We lend way more than we borrow to. OCLC is used far more often, but CCS, OCLC, Find More. I was with Tony at the beginning with, it's like, yeah, Find More. And then it's just been enough roadblocks that it's like, okay, we're gonna switch back over to OCLC for a little bit and try to split it. But it's reassuring that that was not a solo thought over here too.
Yeah.
So, thank you guys. I appreciate that. And then, next on new business, changes to WorldCat functionality, viewing formats, additions, holdings, and creating requests. Amy, I believe this was your agenda item.
Yes. I don't know if you all remember Eva Weil. A couple of years ago, she was the interlibrary loan assistant at Wilmette. And then I took her job before I then took Louisa's. This came from her. She's a librarian now at Wilmette. And first, does anybody use the WorldCat functionality? We use OCLC, not WorldCat. The librarians use WorldCat. So does anybody use WorldCat?
Our librarians using WorldCat, but they're transferring information to the WorldShare form, which comes to us through OCLC.
Okay.
There is a few steps. It's a little bit tricky, but when we put the open access to the WorldCat on our website, we were teaching our librarians and staff to find after finding item in WorldCat to transfer information to the WorldShare form, which is available access from that. And the WorldShare form, when it's filled, comes out and we can see it in OCLC. It's just not finished completely. We are filling the request looking for the holders who is having the item, and we're placing a comment that we reviewed the item on such a date, everything, and we create the request on a patron's account. That's we are doing, but they can do themselves, even the patrons, through WorldCat,
Oh, okay.
using the WorldShare form.
I have a
Because
question.
basically OCLC, it's a WorldShare. It's just a form which is available and opens up through WorldCat.
Okay.
I
I have
heard
a
somebody had a
Ann.
question.
Yeah, I do. So when you use the Discover items in WorldShare, aren't you accessing WorldCat? Is that not the same? Because we do that sometimes if it doesn't work out one way or another. We do use the Discover items function in WorldShare. And it looks to me like you're searching WorldCat. Is
Yeah,
that not
because
right?
this is basically the backside.
Yeah.
WorldShare OCLC, it's a backside of the WorldCat. Just like our patrons using OPEC and, and we are using Polaris, but we're just looking and doing the work, the backside of that system.
Right.
With
Okay.
more details and more access for the authorized staff. And
Yeah, I do think WorldCat and WorldShare are
I think that for myself, I do believe that this is just a back working side platform, interlibrary loan platform for the WorldCat catalog.
okay.
That's my understanding for years. Maybe I'm wrong, but that works for us.
No, that's okay. Yeah, her points about WorldCat, WorldShare was she wasn't able to view all formats and editions, inability to view all library holdings. She could see only featured libraries. And yes, she noted there was that option to make a ILL request on that backside.
And that's what is good, because on the backside, we know how to fill the request. We're only using, let's say, in our case, free libraries, which is in WorldCat, it shows everything, which
Okay.
is available, all libraries, whatever, how many libraries throughout the world may land it, but it
Right.
doesn't show any more details,
Okay.
like if they charge or no, what other conditions.
Okay,
So
this is really helpful. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I was gonna say it sounded like Eva was experiencing some changes with like the interface and how it appeared.
Yeah. This sounds to me like she needs to take this to the librarians. And it's not really something that affects us. So thanks for all of your input. I appreciate it.
Amy, I have one more comment. At
Uh-huh.
Northbrook, how
Uh-huh.
we do it is the librarians will help the patrons place requests through OCLC, and then it comes to the ILL office, just like how Yelena was describing. But
Uh-huh.
sometimes, and they're using WorldCat, they don't have the option of the button. They can't request it. But
Oh,
if they send the information to us on the back end, we can request it. So we never understand what that is all about. But I just wanted to put that out there.
okay. I'll let her know that.
And for us, for the button, so we use like OCLC for search. You won't have the ILL button if your library already owns it. And so in that case, the
Oh,
librarian just gives our ILL staff the
Uh-huh.
information for the item and just says we own it. It's in our catalog still. So that might be why the button's gone too.
That's interesting.
all right. Thank you, everybody.
Great. And then Miko, I know we had one earlier, kind of a parking lot one. Did we want to revisit that?
Yeah, so Jackie Lake Villa was just curious if staff had to bill any libraries for find more items. And if so, what workflow did you choose? Forgot if it was our last meeting or the meeting before that. We had established like 2 different workflows that you could choose from based on which works better for your library. So we're just seeing if anyone has had to bill, and if so, which workflow did you end up using? Doesn't sound like there's any
No
bills
one
so
yet?
far.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
yet.
No, lucky so far, no.
I billed once.
Someone,
The library contacted me. It was a teacher. And I did the manual bill and then declared lost in the account. And she was super sweet. She sent a personal check. I felt so bad for her. She was very nice.
oh,
But she was very concerned that the book had gone missing with a student.
Yeah, we had a small library, I can't remember which, that had maybe lost an item and it could have gone to billing, but I just forgave them and don't tell anyone, don't squeal on me, but I just kind of let it go, just
I should have forgiven this one. If I knew she was going to send a personal check, I should have.
yeah, Amy, you really should have.
I
What
should
the
have.
heck are you?
Send it back to her. Like, here's another personal check reimbursement.
I will pass the information along. Thank you.
For my records, that's the rest of the new business that we have. Ashley and Grayslake did just put, we have had one lost FMI loan thus far. We also forgave it and did not bill the library. That seems to be, it's the smaller libraries, at least for us, that have called to be like, we know it's overdue, and it's like, you get it when you get it, man. Like, it just,
Look what a forgiving bunch we are too. Isn't
yes,
that nice?
exactly.
Yes. I bet the tech group isn't as forgiving. I'll bet.
Is there any other last minute additions topics that folks want to discuss at this point? All right, hearing none, I will call for a motion to adjourn the ILL Tech Group meeting.
I motion. I
Thank you,
move.
Anne.
Whatever I do.
I'll
I'll take it. I don't remember
Okay.
either. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
Cool.
Amy.
Thank you, Amy. So motion by Anne, second by Amy. All those in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Got hands raised. Any opposed? Can't hear you. So we are adjourned at 10:18. Right.
Okay.
Thank you, Anne.
Thanks. See you August 21st.
Now, do you
Yes.
mean that, Mieko? For sure, in person, yes.
I need to stop the recording. Ah.